You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind.
With the emergence of global internet, a human population of several billions, an electronic noosphere, that we are now within the shadow of this transcendental object at the end of time.
I find it a little difficult to say what the subject matter is going to be, because
Magic is an enemy and truth is a menace.
Shake and bake, steps back, three-pointer, bang!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to another episode of the Midnight Variety Hour. I'm your host, as always, Tom, joined by my main man,
Mr. Adam.
and we're here today with a good friend of the show who's making his first appearance. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. This is, I know that
Bring the mic a little closer. There you
All
go.
right, there we go.
these
Cool.
episodes, you're listening to this hopefully on a Friday night. Hopefully you stay up and listen to it right when it comes out, but we're recording this in the morning, which is the first time we've ever done it. And it feels cool. I like this morning vibe for a podcast.
Yeah, and your voice is still a little raspy from waking up.
Welcome to another episode.
Wait,
Anyway.
you said you'd do Christopher Waltz this time.
Oh, Christoph Waltz?
Hope you've been practicing.
I haven't at all, but I'll try. Oh God, this is going to sound trash. Okay, I can only do one version of Christoph Waltz, and it's Christoph Waltz from Django. I understand that he uses a different voice in other movies, but in Django, he plays this German dentist from 1868. Django takes place right after the Civil War, I think.
He's a good actor.
He's an amazing actor.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's I have to slowly get into character. He's that very first scene, he shows up and those slave traders, they're walking the slaves through the dark, and he's like, I'm looking for a particular creature that goes by the name Django. Which one of you poor devils is Django?
Bro, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And
spot on.
then the slave trader guys start getting frustrated, and they're
Yeah.
like, state your business, fancy pants. And he's like, I am merely a businessman trying to acquire someone through a transaction.
Yeah.
And
Bro,
then they like get mad, and they're like, they draw on him, and he goes, oh, very well. And like he pulls his gun out, bam. And there's Christoph Waltz for you. That's the only Christoph Waltz.
That's one of the best opening like scenes of any movie, because they're like, or I forgot exactly what they say, but like, who's that stumbling around?
Who's
in the dark?
that stumbling around in the
State your
dark?
business.
Or prepared to get wanged.
Yeah.
That's one of the best opening scenes you've
That's
ever
the
seen.
first line of that movie. I love it.
That was a
So
good movie, too.
It's one of my
Quentin
favorites.
Tarantino always shows out.
Tarantino, speaking of, is just on Joe Rogan. I've
Yeah.
watched about like 30 minutes of it so far, and it's just awesome. It's
That's
fascinating.
crazy that he
It's-
did Rogan.
Yeah, he's such an interesting guy and just an iconic, filmmaker. So it's
For
Yeah.
sure.
pretty amazing stuff.
He really is. I feel like it's cliche to say he's my favorite director, because I feel like every male between the ages of 18 and 29 says that
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino's their.
But, I mean,
But
like,
I'm
how
sorry,
could it
he
not?
just
Like,
is.
How
Like,
could you not?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's just that incredible.
He really doesn't miss. Like, I don't think he's ever. I didn't like Death Proof. I thought that was stupid. But other than Death Proof,
It is
I've
what
liked
it is,
every
you know?
movie he's ever made.
Yeah, I mean, it was just that's its own kind of subgenre.
Yeah, and he likes to kind of like dive into the he worked on those Grindhouse movies, and I thought those were stupid. But I mean,
Right.
everyone I guess kind of just wants to have their little fun project, whatever.
Yeah, that's definitely what it was.
But it's not the reason we're here. The reason we're here is because we're really excited to talk with Mark. Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know that Adam said you went to TSU. You are currently a history teacher.
Yep.
And you've apparently been to all 50 states, which I really want to get into, because that is something not a lot of people can say. I hope one day I can say it for myself. But why don't you just give us like the 1-minute summary of just like who you are, what you're about.
Okay, well, yeah. Mark Slade, born in Houston, Texas. 90s baby, born February 4, 1993. I met Adam, I'm middle school, 6th grade.
Really?
Yeah. Adam always gravitated towards black people. In a good way. I always knew that he was probably going to end up with a black girl. and he
Yeah, I
did.
like to call Adam White Chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was his middle name in middle school. He played basketball or whatever, wore all the J's and the shoes and stuff like that. So me and Adam were always cool. Basically, yeah, we both actually went to Humble High School.
Where your mom was
And
a
then
nurse.
My mom was a nurse at Elmo Middle School. Yeah, we went to Elmo Middle School together.
Miss
and
Slade.
high school, yeah. I mean, Renee Slade, that's my mom.
She would always take care of me.
And then we did 2 years at Elmo High School together. and then a school had opened up in 2010 in Kingwood, and one of our best friends had already gone there, Adrian. He was already there, and he had told us, he was like, "Hey, come over here." You know what I'm saying? It's
K Park.
a lot, you know, K Park. So K Park had their first graduating class in 2010. So we were 2011. So we both went over
Oh,
there.
I didn't know that because I knew you had switched, and I didn't know it was a brand new school.
Yeah, brand new.
Damn.
It was only open a year
Yeah,
before I went.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was Colby Chandler and Jordan Quill in their class, 2010. So yeah,
Colby's the one who's the chef now.
the chef. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Damn.
He's a celebrity
Need to get-
chef.
Yeah, need
Shout
to
out.
get him for some.
K-Wood putting out some people.
yeah.
K-Park putting out some people.
For sure. And me and Adam just always just stayed close. You know, we
Yeah.
had a certain clique. It was me, Adam, Adrian, one of our homies named Paul, Junior Amadou, Sosa, TD. You know, people like that. We always played Xbox, Gears of War, Halo, all this stuff. Like that. So,
Yeah, he's original Halo.
yeah, Halo
Junkie.
for sure. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, back in the Halo 2 days.
Bro,
Yeah.
he was that kid. Whenever you were playing with him, you knew just don't poke your head out. Like you just hide, and like because he's coming for you.
You
His
use the
head
map
holding-
like the back of your hand and stuff.
He was
Yeah.
like the sniper, original like no scoping snipers, like early
Team
Halo
snipers.
2, just
Team
like
snipers. Yep.
just
Lockout.
destroying
Ascension.
people like online. Like no one can hang. Like he's
Oh,
probably one of the
shit.
best Halo players I've ever known.
Do you still
And then-
play?
No.
No.
And then what
just
is
play Warzone
wasn't
now.
your cousin like
Yeah,
competing
Dominique.
for that or something?
Dominique played. What did he play? He competed. I don't think it
He was like a pro gamer early,
Yeah,
before
he
pro gaming
wasn't-
was a thing.
Yeah, he wasn't on Halo. His game was. I can't even remember what Dominique used to play. I know he was real good at some games. But
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely put me on the games. That's why I was a gamer today.
Yeah.
was Dominique.
But
So, yeah.
Gears was always fun
Yeah,
too.
Gears were
'Cause
like
but you didn't get to
body
experience
kids.
that if you didn't have Xbox.
Nah, I grew up a PlayStation
Yeah.
kid,
Oh,
so I
man,
never
yeah.
played Gears.
Gears
and I
was
played Halo at my
amazing.
friend's house, obviously, but I
Yeah.
never like got into Halo.
Yeah, Gears was a different game.
Yeah, Gears was one of those games. Gears of War was one of those games that like kind of shattered what you, because it was like almost like Doom, but like it was like one of the first like
Third person.
PC
It
games.
was like third person and Doom
Yeah.
mixed together.
Obviously with the blood and the gore heads
Yeah.
exploding and stuff
Yeah.
like that, it was just like crazy, and you're just like,
Yeah.
and people's bodies are literally exploding apart whenever
Exploding.
you shoot them with the shotgun. It
Yeah.
was just like.
Yeah, good
The
body.
one gun
Yeah.
had like a chainsaw on
Yeah,
it.
right. So it was an extremely bloody game,
Right.
but it was like really fun. It was small party, so it was only like 4v4
Right.
max. So it was like small party, small maps. So you had to do a lot of communicating. So it was really fun to play with friends online.
Yeah,
Right.
man.
So we ended up getting into like clan
Yeah,
wars and stuff like that.
wow.
Like, it was some
We
fun.
used to take that, man. We used to take that stuff serious.
It was fun, but anyways, yeah. So and also another thing that connects us is our family. Like I would go over his family's house all the time.
A lot, man.
They'd be cooking, hanging out, or just going to a pool day or something. And then he would come over, and so I became good friends with his parents. He became good friends with my mom, and so that obviously helped
Nice.
our bond, and so it kept us close for a long
That's
time.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and now you're freaking about to graduate as get your master's,
Yeah,
and then
well, I just started the master's program.
so
at,
you went to Southern.
Texas Southern
Texas
University.
Southern
for an
University?
undergraduate degree, yeah.
Yeah.
And bachelor's of science.
And then you joined Omega Psi Phi,
Oh, yeah.
which
fraternity,
is
yeah. Omega
another
Psi
big
Phi,
part of your life.
Yeah. A fourth generation at that. It's funny about that. I don't know if Adam told you. We were at a function, and one of my fraternity brothers was there. And Adam saw his brand on an arm. And Adam knew to call me instantly. And he called me, and I knew who he was. And Adam was real intrigued about how we instantly knew each other, because previously we were sitting outside chilling, and Adam stays right by a bar that is owned by some fraternity members, of mine, and they came up to me, and I'm saying we instantly, greeted each other, and acted like we already knew each other, and Adam. That alerted Adam. He was like, "Wow!" So
Yeah, and this was okay to put it in context. We're literally just sitting on my patio,
Right.
and there's a sidewalk. I'm on the first floor, and people can just walk by.
yeah,
We're
Right.
just hanging out, and 3 people come up to him. We're just hanging out on my patio. Like it's not like we're what I
Right.
mean, trying to see people, but just people walking by happenstance. Hey, they see his hat, they see Omega or whatever.
Right.
Like, oh, what's up, brother? And they just talk for a minute.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
I know your dad, or this or that, and they're just
crazy.
like, and then 3
This is
times.
at your current apartment.
Yeah,
Wow.
3 times within a matter of 20 minutes. And I'm just like, what is happening?
Right.
What is going on, bro? So I'm like, okay, what's happening? And then the next day, I run into somebody else who just happens to be Mark's friend, who's also in Omega. The next day, separate event, separate thing, and that's why I called Mark, and that's
Right.
what he was talking about there. And it was just like wild seeing the connection. They immediately knew each other when I called
That's
them. I was like,
crazy.
hey, here's somebody else. And so, yeah, it's just a fascinating thing.
yeah, and Adam, this is a great, chance for me to explain this, and I'm glad that you guys are willing to listen, because that's the problem with people today. They just don't want to listen, or just if people would just sit back and just listen, they would understand, or have a better understanding of history. So Adam, I'm actually glad this happened. Adam, we're friends, best friends, so we joke around. So he reached for my hat, and he asked if he could wear it. And I was like, no. And Sam was like, no, you can't. And Adam didn't understand why, which is perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't know anything about it or whatever. Only thing he knows is that I'm in it, or he knows that my dad is in it. So,
right.
which is fine. So we explained to him that it is, or we asked him a question like, would you wear a memorabilia of maybe like Islam or something like that?
Right.
Would you do that, or would you wear some red shoes or something going to Compton or something like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you wouldn't do that, because an Islamic man would come up to you and probably say something to you, and if you're not a Muslim or something like that, you're not gonna know what to say, and then they're gonna be looking at you funny. You know what I'm saying? So if you wore some red shoes in Compton, you know what I'm saying, and you already know the consequences what can come with that, because you're not a part of, you know what I'm saying, that lifestyle or whatever. So, but we are a Christian organization that dates back to November 17, 1911. We were founded at what you call an HBCU. HBCU stands for Historic Black College University. The history behind that, while we were founded, man, I gotta back up a lot. This is
Take your time, man. This is what we're here for. Trying to.
So, okay, 1700s white fraternities were, started to get organized and founded and stuff like that. So, of course, black people were slaves. Eventually, 1860s, okay, we're freed, so-called, so 1890s, stuff like that. Eventually, as your fraternity and stuff grows, other people of other ethnicities are going to want to join. So, let's say a black person wants to try to join this white fraternity. Of course not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we go make our own. So black fraternities were founded and created upon rejection into white ones. And my fraternity is it's a part of something that's called the Divine Nine. There's 9 African American fraternities and sororities. And it starts at 1906 and it ends at 1963. 1906 was fraternity Alpha Phi Alpha. They were founded at Cornell University. I'm not sure what their standards or what their principles are. The next one would be Alpha Kappa Alpha, 1908, which is a sorority. They were founded at Howard University, which is an HBCU. The next one, Kappa Alpha Psi, January 5th, 1911. They were founded at Indiana University. Omega Psi Phi, November 17, 1911. Of course, that's the best one ever. Phi Beta Sigma, 1914, Howard University. Zeta Phi Beta, 1920, Howard University. Sigma Gamma Rho, 1922. They were at, man, I should know this, the Pan-Atlantic Council, I should know this. I think, I hope they don't beat me up for this. I think they were at Howard. Oh, man, I don't know. We may have to cut that out. But and then 1963, Iota Phi Theta. They were founded at Morgan State University. So it was a big group of black people that just wanted to, do their own thing and have, basically in shorter terms, protection. I don't know how much in depth I can go in, but you can kind of put your head around it being black in 1911.
Yeah, that's
Right.
that's what I was gonna bring up next.
You know
Was
what I'm
just like,
saying?
especially for the original ones, the first few
Yeah.
that started must
Yeah.
have been the hardest ones, right?
You know what I'm saying? So just imagine being African American in 1911. I think about that all the time. So just imagine the difficulties that, the founders
Right.
had to go through, with, being sprayed with, water hoses, or, lynched, had the dog sicked on you, just crazy things like that.
Yeah.
And that's another great point that Adam had brought up, was about our education system. There's a lot of things that are not talked about, and there's a lot of things that are talked about that shouldn't be talked about. You know, and I'm currently getting my master's in education administration.
Okay.
Because I just at Prairie View University, so it just bothers me that the truth is just always, you know what I'm saying, wiped up under the rug for some reason when it comes to African Americans. Like, I never got that. And it's great that Adam, you know what I'm saying, people like Adam and, you know, of course you or whatever, you know, are willing to listen. You know, white people, not all white people are bad, of course. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you know what I'm saying? Adam's my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, like, if people would just listen and just accept the truth, like I think the problem is, I think some, you know, the racist white people think that if black people were to ever get into power, we would do to them what was done to us. I think that's, you know what I'm saying, I get that feeling. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case. Like, I guarantee you, if there was some head of black people or whatever, and they gave all the power to him and said, what do you want to do? I guarantee he would not say make white people slaves. I guarantee he wouldn't.
Right.
Because that's never what the issue has been. It's always just wanting to just be equal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what were we talking about, Adam? Education.
Yeah, so I want to go back. Also,
Yeah, go ahead.
I love what you just said, for sure. And I can definitely vibe with that and agree with that. But going back to like the history of, you know, being in 1911, and because you talked about you're a fifth generation college student.
Yes.
Which is
College
incredible,
graduate.
right? Like,
yeah, I think, yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing. And then on top of that, your dad, grandfather, and great grandfather were all in Omega Psi Phi. And so you said, I think your great grandfather was 1937 was when he joined. So the history there must have been incredible. Like, and I was curious if you wanted to share the story of like kind of those times, and whenever your family was going through.
At that time,
some
okay.
of those stories.
Great grandfather, I met him when I was, of course, I don't remember. He had a heart attack. He passed away, and he fell back into a fire. That's how he passed. I was 2 years old, so I really didn't, you know, get to talk to him. Grandfather, though, tell me stories all the time how it would be growing up in the 50s or even pledging or even attending an HBCU in the 50s. Back then, 1954, so that's civil rights. You know what I'm saying? He would tell me, you know, you can get a dog sicked on you.
And where was he at? And what state?
This was in Oklahoma.
He was in Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Okay.
So any little thing, and this is stuff that not only he's seen, but this is stuff that is going around the country. It was common for, you know, so you could just go to you're trying to go vote, you know what I'm saying, and dogs sicked on you. Water hoses, you know what I'm saying? Right. Like, it's just, and it's crazy because my grandfather, if I ask him, you know what I'm saying, to name me, you know, one positive white person at that time, he just couldn't. Because, you know, every time you open the door, every time you turn on TV, is black man getting hung, black man burned, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't imagine how much grandparents had to hold their tongues. And let me ask you this: do you know the term "hole in the wall"? You ever heard that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what it means?
I don't know if I know the origin now.
Okay. Well,
so.
Black people had to go around back to get their food in the hole in the wall. That's where that comes from.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Granny used to have scars on her fingertips from the cotton.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So the story's all about that, man. And it's just like drinking out of the same water fountains that dogs drink out of. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, yeah, it's crazy, and I think that, you know, I'm definitely a product of that today. You know what I'm saying? To make sure I do go to school, and to make sure I do finish, because, you know what I'm saying, back then it was so hard just to enroll in school, or, you know what I'm saying, anything can happen to you, you know, so. Or
just the stigma behind it, like, I mean, it's probably rare for others to be going to school at that time.
Yeah, exactly, man. There's so much going on, man. You don't know you don't know what could happen. I couldn't imagine being a black man, 22 years old, just you know, walking down the streets in the 50s or 60s, just anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know what happened to Emmett Till. Of course, he wasn't that old, but, you know, something so similar.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If he whistled or if he didn't whistle, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they had to do what they had to do.
Yeah.
You know?
And also on the topic of history, we were talking a little bit about. We can go into further depth about it, but like the cities that were turned into lakes or destroyed or just mass murders of black cities. The most famous one probably the Black Wall Street.
And Tulsa.
Tulsa. And then, but also, I want to stay on topic of your family because you said was it your grandmother, your great grandmother who pledged with?
Oh, okay, Wilma Rudolph. Yeah,
Rudolph.
I had asked Adam a question. We were on the topic about education, and I said, "You've heard the name Robert E. Lee? Everybody's had school's named after him, and whatever." But he
used to do some of the most horrific.
Yeah, horrific stuff to the slaves. After he whip them or whatever, throw hot coal on them and stuff like that. So, but kids will look up and see, oh, there's a street named after this man, or there's a school name. You know what I'm saying?
Here's a statue of him right here in the middle of the park. Yeah,
so a child is going to be like, oh, that's a great person. He, you know what I'm saying? There's a statue of him, so he must be special. So everybody knows Robert E. Lee. But I asked Adam, I was like, tell me about. Well, I won't even use the same example. I mean, I asked him about. I said, tell me about Wilma Rudolph. You know what I'm saying? And he was just like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? She was an Olympic sprinter who had polio, who attended Tennessee State, which is an HBCU. Or I can ask. Not even. I don't even have to ask Adam. I can ask a black person. Tell me about. They could tell me all about any rapper. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But I'll be like, tell me Malcolm X's last name.
Right. Or you could say, tell me about Michael Jordan. Everybody knows black athletes, black rappers.
Everybody can say that. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Michael Jordan, you know what I'm saying? Tar Heel, North Carolina, you know what I'm saying? It's national championship 19, I think he won in 84. Is that when he won, Adam? When he hit that shot at Georgetown? I think that's when it was. So everybody can. Everybody
got drafted in 84. Yeah.
Everybody knows that. But as soon as I say, oh, well, what was Malcolm X's last name? It's, do you know?
Do I know?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not off the top of my head, no.
You know what I'm saying? Little. Malcolm X's last name was Little. And that's crazy because that's just something so simple that's, you know what I'm saying, that's you'll never probably see in a textbook.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I probably watched documentaries of Malcolm X, still don't know his last
name. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I mean, it's just basically, little facts that I think people should know, or maybe not even that they should know. So I don't want to come off as, you know what I'm saying, like an idiot or something. But like, I feel like that's stuff that should at least be in the textbooks.
Or like what we were talking about. I mean, more in particular was like the Black Wall Streets of the world. Like because you said there's like hundreds of those towns or cities.
That's not the only
that were destroyed. I mean, those are like major events that happen in the black communities throughout our history that aren't in our textbooks.
And if it wasn't for the internet and people, spreading that sort of information on the internet, a fraction of the people that know about the Black Wall Street now would not know.
Exactly.
That's how I learned about it. I watched a YouTube video on
it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
think about that. The fact that our school system is just completely neglecting any of that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Man. And nobody know, like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm surprised you when I said 1920, you said Tulsa. I was like, wow.
You know what I'm saying? My dad is black. I'm half black.
Okay. So
I know I don't look like it. Yeah, I'm like on my Klay Thompson shit, but I'm half black. So
So that's crazy how a whole town could be wiped out and nothing is said.
Yeah. So if people don't know about that, at least from what I remember that it was like a thriving city. Mm-hmm. Like from what I remember hearing about it, it was like this thriving city where people would come from all around and like do trading, business.
I mean, black people had their own economy.
Right.
Like black people were economically prospering.
Yeah.
Right.
They had their own, I mean, like literally the way Wall Street functions with stocks and, just like a bustling, like black people had that. They were completely self-sufficient.
Right. Yeah.
And they were even ascending past the level of economy of some white folks.
Yeah,
like,
so that's great point. So this is 1920. Blacks were freed in 1865, right? So white people had been freed. They had gotten here 1607. So you had all that time, 1607, let's just say 1607 to 1920.
Right.
You had all that economic growth. You see the black people, they're free, you know what I'm saying? You start in 1607, we start in not even 1865 because we still had Jim Crow to go through. Right. You know what I'm saying? So
essentially over 300 year head start.
You have that much of a head start, and you see just you see black people just go this much. No, you know what I'm saying? No, we don't like that. We're gonna tear it all down.
Yeah.
I never understood that.
Yeah. And then and we can even see that all the way until as recent as the Black Panther Party and these kind of things where like it's just been the norm for any type of black organization to reach any kind of power. It's getting shut down or it's public enemy number one.
And not even you could say with black icon figures. Anytime they get too powerful, what happens?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? MLK, boom. Malcolm X, boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, anytime they get too powerful, or even today, Bill, I know he was doing all that rape stuff, weirdo stuff for that, but like, he was about to take over something. I think NBC or something like that. Then, boom. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I don't know. It's anytime.
That's a crazy story.
You know what I'm saying?
With accusations that were 30 years old, 20 years old.
You know what I'm saying? Not saying that he didn't do it. He probably did. You know what I'm saying? But still, like, it's
no.
just always right when black people about to do something good or something.
Right.
Just take it away.
So so I think now like being from Houston and being able to live downtown Houston, like to see now like black businesses and these small like entrepreneurs and like doing these startups and doing some really creative and cool things. I know like 2 vegan black restaurants that I go to fairly often. I love them and I just want to support because like I know the history and I'm like okay like this is more important than you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like Houston is a pretty good city as far as like
diverse.
Stimulating black business. For sure.
So just thinking of the history of all that and like what it means to know your history. That way you can make informed decisions in your future and in the present moment, right? I think it's really important. Yeah.
But what I was gonna say, I think Greg Abbott or somebody, some stupid bill that I keep hearing about. They want to get rid of. I think it's 9 men of color and 6 women of color. I think they're trying to remove any context of them in the history books.
What do you mean?
He's trying to. If you Google it right now, you know what I'm saying, Greg Abbott signed some bill or what, you know what I'm saying, signed some type of bill
that
where
sounds sketchy.
You know what I'm saying? I can even actually, you know what, I put it on my.
I need to know about this so I can try and take action to fight it. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Where is this? Let me see.
Yeah. Mark was telling me about these other towns. There's one in northern Utah that is like just now lakes, like where there's just like lakes throughout the United States that were just once black towns. You just would never know. You're just walking over them or swimming across, and you just never know that used to be a black town.
So okay, there you go.
I'm guessing this is something about critical race theory.
Yeah.
Let's see. Governor Greg Abbott has signed the controversial bill that prescribes how Texan teachers can talk about current events and America's history of racism in the classroom. According to Texas legislature online, his signature makes Texas one of a handful of states across the country that have passed such legislation, which aims to ban the teaching of critical race theory in K-12 public schools. Oh, God, yeah. Let's see. President Donald Trump had banned federal employees from training that discusses critical race theory or white privilege. Yeah, so now not only are they not teaching black history, but now they are refusing to teach anything that insinuates white people had privilege. You are not allowed to insinuate in a classroom that at one point one race tried to be greater than another race. Like, you are not allowed to teach anything that states that races were not treated equally. Like, anything that, and I don't know, like, fact check this if you're listening to this because I might not be wording it properly, but
yeah, just look it up. Look up definition of critical
CRT.
race. That way we can know the exact definition and we can like talk from it because I mean, if that's the case, it's absolutely ridiculous and it's just flat out lying.
And it's not just Texas, man, it's other states. Critical race theory is an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists in the United States who seek to critically examine the United States law as it intersects with issues of race in the U.S. and to challenge mainstream American liberal approaches to racial justice. Critical race theory examines social, cultural, and legal issues as they relate to race and racism in the United States, and more recently, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia.
Right, but that's still not telling us what they're trying to teach, right?
Yeah.
That's just telling you. See, that's just man.
It's BS, man.
Yeah, like that's like the garbage definition they put on the front page.
Yeah.
It's like, tell me what banning critical
that
race
still
theory.
doesn't even tell me what they're trying to do in the schools.
Systematic racism.
Yeah, dude. And then that's another huge problem when we're talking about history and what we're learning in our schools is that they're government funded. funded. They're government textbooks, and they're obviously created by mainly white people throughout the history. I mean,
I
we have
remember-
textbooks that are still old, like being used. You know what I mean? Like,
I was I forgot what it was. Wasn't that long ago? I was in I think one of my governmental classes. They referred to slaves as migrant workers.
Oh my God.
You know, so it's that's how stuff is. You
To
know,
be a
and-
migrant worker, you have to fucking come here
you know what I'm
willingly.
saying? Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is.
And
And then
so, yeah.
what I was gonna say, my students, you know, I was at a middle school, and
I hate this shit.
And
so yeah, you're a middle school teacher. We
yeah,
probably glossed over that.
Yeah. No, I mean,
So,
I'm
sorry.
currently trying to get my teacher certification.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I can have my own classroom.
It's right now you're currently teaching what?
Special education.
Okay.
So yeah, but I want to do social studies. But
Right.
you know, we do social studies. We have social studies times, and that time, you know, my teacher just lets me do what I want to, you know, what I'm saying, teach how I want to teach.
Right.
Because when I want to, what I want them to know is the real truth. Because we can open up a textbook and talk about Christopher Columbus.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But he came over here and raped and you know what I'm saying? Like did all this type of stuff to all these, you know, all the natives and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
just
that's not
straight up
talked
murder.
about. Yeah,
Enslaved, yeah.
that's not talked about. You know, all the other black people are just glossed over. And I never understood that. They don't want to talk about Frederick Douglass or Booker T. Washington, you know what I'm saying? Fred Hampton, Huey P. Newton, you know what I'm saying? Bethune-Cookman. None of those people are mentioned, you know what I'm saying, at all. They'll tell you that Malcolm X was killed by black people, though.
Right.
They'll say that.
Yeah.
They'll tell you that. Oh yeah, he was killed by black people.
Yeah.
They you know what I'm saying. You'll hear that, you know what I'm saying, but you won't hear about his journey to Mecca, or
Yeah.
you won't hear how he changed once he converted to Islam and stuff
Yeah.
like that, man.
Yeah, and there's I think something really important in this too is understanding that majority of people who went to school, obviously there's select few who private or homeschooled, but majority of people who went to public schooling in the U.S. Were not taught the true history. Because here's something that's really important about history: the person who's telling the history is everything.
Yeah, it depends on the
Whoever's
teacher.
telling the story
Yeah.
is going to shape your perception of what happened, right?
exactly.
Because they can still be telling you the same story, but you can see it from a different perspective depending on who's telling it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem
Exactly.
with our textbooks today and what's being taught.
And the teachers, man.
And so,
like,
yeah.
you got to be enthused. You know what I'm saying? Got to be enthused when it comes to history. And I've had people tell me, "Oh, kids don't need to know." You know what I'm saying? The brutality of slavery. I was like, yes, they do. Because I could pull up a picture. I could pull up a picture right now of a black man hanging, and there's going to be some little white kids pointing and laughing. I can pull that picture up. And so, you know what I'm saying? I've been told that, oh, no, they don't need to know. I was like, yeah, I'm going to tell them that child that's your age, you know what I'm saying, at that time, he thought that stuff like this was funny. You know what I'm saying? They have a black man hanging from a tree.
Man, yeah.
Little kid going like this.
Yeah, you
and
look
smiling.
at lynching photos. It's just people smiling all the time.
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like they look like postcards.
Yeah.
That's what they look like. So people are like, no, you know what I'm saying? You don't need to tell them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'll tell them the real part of how
What actually
happened. How bro, they would make you. Let's say if you were a slave, they would make you sleep with your mom to reproduce. You know what I'm saying? Put a bag over your head so you don't see it. Make you have sex with your mom to reproduce. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of brutal stuff, bro. How they thought that black women couldn't feel pain, so they would operate on them without anesthetics. And still to this day, some black doctors feel as if black women are stronger. You know what I'm saying? That's not. I think black women, I think they die at a higher rate or something like that, where they give birth or so. There's a statistic that you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just like, what makes you think that black women their skin is tougher?
Right.
Bro, there's so many brutal stories, man. Like, I think something, what's the story that I've heard? I mean, yeah, just the brutality, man. Like, I just never understood, you know what I'm saying? Emmett Till. That's what I was going to talk about. Like, imagine, like, because that's what it was. My students are his age. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't know anything about it.
Right.
We started talking about it, and I had gotten their attention when I had said, brought up the word castrate. So I have all boys.
And they didn't know what that meant.
They didn't know it. They weren't paying around. No, we don't know what that means, Mr. Slade. We don't know what that means. I was like, okay. So I was like, I asked one of my students, like, how old are you? I'm 13. How old was Emmett? Was Emmett 14?
I think he was 14.
I think he was 14. Okay, so I think he said he was 13 or 14, one of my students. So I was like, okay, you ever been to the store to go get some candy or whatever, with you and your homie? He was like, yeah. He was like, why? I was like, okay, you ever maybe see like a pretty woman or something like that while you're at the store or whatever? And he was like, yeah. He was like, okay, well, I was like, imagine, what I'm saying, you, not even, let's say you did, my bad, let's say you did whistle at her. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, okay. I was like, okay, so imagine somebody coming in and abducting you from your home. You know what I'm saying? They throw you in a truck or whatever. You riding around with these white men or whatever. They take you to a barn. And I was like, so imagine they shoot you in the head. This is exactly what happened, because I've been to the African American Museum in D.C., and they have his casket in the museum. So they tell the full story. Throw you in a barn, beat you, beat the hell out of you, shoot you in the head.
A child.
Castrate. I was like, y'all, somebody tell me what castrate means. And they were like, I don't know. I was like, that's when they cut your nuts off. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in the classroom, what's going on? I was like, yeah, that's exactly what happens just because of the color of your skin. This happened in 1955. You know what I'm saying? So, in Mississippi. So I was like, this was way after slaves were free. You know what I'm saying? We were supposedly free in 1865, so everybody's supposed to be equal after that. They just went and killed a kid just because he so-called whistled at a white woman or whatever. Beat him up, castrate him, tied a fan to his neck, and dumped his body in the river. And then I even remember the killer's name. I'll never forget. The dude's name is J.W. Milam, and I forgot the other dude's name. They're both. J.W. Milam had cancer. It's crazy how shit plays out, right?
Karma.
And then imagine them going to court and saying that they did it, not having any remorse that they did it, and they're saying all that in front of your mom, and then they just go home.
Yep.
Quit it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, that I wouldn't even know how to function if something like that happened to my child, and then they don't do anything, just because he's black. And then his mom wanted him to have an open casket, so the world can see. And he looked. Do you know the image? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You seen it? Yeah, man. Like what?
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
And I think the woman that was in question here, I think has since come out and said, she lied about the whole shit.
Yeah.
Now, how she has not had criminal actions brought against her is
she did.
Yeah, but I mean, she lived into the 2000s. What I'm saying, and so she said this on record in modern day times. I mean, she said this shit in like the 90s or something. She admitted to that, and the fact that nothing ever happened to her. She lied. And what she lied about was so like arbitrary and fucking like it should never have resulted in what happened to Emmett Till. But still, the fact that she was willing to sit there and fucking lie about it, nothing happened to J.W. Milam, nothing happened to her. Just okay. Well, thanks for telling us.
Right.
That's it. That's how it goes.
Yeah, and the only thing you can hope is that she was living with that thought and it probably tortured her. At least you can hope. I don't know, but you're not in your head. But I mean, that's the only thing you can hope is like hopefully that like haunted her. And maybe that's gonna affect her in her past life. But anyway, like you were talking about like the stories. When I read just knowing the actual events, like knowing very specific details, like how you just described, I think is crucial because we can know like the name Emmett Till. Yeah. But if you don't know like the details,
exactly, you have to.
It's gonna be different for you than someone who does. And this is when I read The People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. Okay. We'll definitely always shout out that book because it changed my life. But there's like detailed accounts of people's diaries writing actual events and stories of like what was happening. Yeah. Very specific, detailed events. And when you start to see event after event, and the stories after stories, there's when you know how many there are, and you can just see the record, the history of just. It blows your mind because they're all dramatic. They're all insane. And you're just like, these stories are incredible and they need to be told and people need to be hearing them, but they're not being taught. And it's just like, man. But that's why, I mean, you got to be self-educated because we know for sure, we have talked about it so many times on the show, how messed up our education system is. So, like, that's why I think it's so important. Educate yourself. Do your history. If you have a question about something, Google it, look it up, watch a YouTube video on it. That's what I do. And
but it's
just like, at least you can be aware of those things.
You could be self-taught, but it's just like imagine if you had, let's just say, if you have 1,000 kids, and every day they come to school and the teacher is telling them, Christopher Columbus discovered America. Okay, so let's just say they hear that every single day. Okay, how many of those kids out of that 1,000 are gonna be like, let me go research, let me go, you know what I'm saying?
Not many,
so
right.
exactly. So you could say self-teach, you know what I'm saying? But
It's
as a
way
child,
harder,
that's not your job to
No.
do that. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely
That's not your
not.
child. Like I wasn't doing that as a
Definitely
as a child. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because it's not my job to go.
Yeah.
Let me go make sure my teacher's telling me the truth. No 4th or 5th grader is gonna do that.
Yeah, but that's why
You
it's
know?
important that you're doing it. Like we were talking
Exactly.
about that you're a 5th generation college student.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, what could have made that happen? And you're obviously talking about your parents or your grandparents met
College.
other college students
Yeah.
and married and had kids.
Married.
Like that was probably really reinforced in the family.
Mhm.
So even though those kids aren't being taught what they should be,
Yeah.
at least your parents, both of your parents are educated and can like tell you,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
here's
what-
the real story. Because I'm
Exactly.
sure that's what happened with you,
That's
and your
what-
parents
yeah.
told you, hey, here's the real story.
Yeah.
Here's what you should be knowing, what you should be learning, and be
Yeah.
focusing on.
And that's why I was like, okay, I was grateful enough to have parents like that, but not everybody does.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? Don't make you better nor worse. You know what I'm saying? I was just one of the blessed ones, you know, that
For sure.
I have dad and mom, you know what I'm saying, since day one. So I feel like now what I need to do is go help the people who didn't have that, you know what I'm saying, who aren't informed. Because I hate having, you know what I'm saying, like, not even just a black child, but a child that just thinks that, you know, something simple, you know, we're in middle school, Christopher Columbus discovered America. Or I'm saying, like, he did this, you know what I'm saying, or he did that. But everything else, you know what I'm saying, is just washed under the table, you know, washed under the rug. So that's where I think I'm going to come in, you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to get the PhD in educational administration, you know what I'm saying, so I could work in administration to see what is being spreaded out when it comes to history.
And you can have
know
a
what I'm
say.
saying?
You can
Yeah,
have a
and
say.
I'm definitely going to have a say, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, it's going to take me some time, but that's just what it is, you know what I'm saying. I'm thankful enough to have my parents or whatever. My mom was an RN, dad was HPD for 30 years, you know, so I came, you know what I'm saying, I was always comfortable. I didn't have to worry about where my next meal was going to come from, you know what I'm saying. I didn't have the statistic black dad where he don't show up, whatever. My dad's been there since February 4, 1993, you know. So I had all the tools to do what I need to do, you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to utilize them and help, you know, spread the truth. Like, that's why I have all these tattoos. Like, before I was young, I didn't think I would ever get a tattoo. But now, when I started getting them, my students started asking about them. You know what I'm saying? So now, I got all these. I got some portraits, and I got, you know what I'm saying. I got Rosa Parks. I got Desmond Tutu quotes. I got a sign that says "Waiting Room for Colored Only." Free Huey P. Newton, Africa. Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? So, and they start seeing all these things, and
Who's Desmond Tutu?
Desmond Tutu. All right, so he was a. Let me see. How can I put it in simple terms? I would call him a author, editor, philosopher, or whatever. He was born in South Africa, and this is why I like Desmond Tutu, because he made this analogy. If you're, I don't even have to look down at the tattoo because I know it. I've been saying it somewhere. I've been preaching it. If you're neutral in situations such as injustice, then you have chosen the side of the oppressor. So just like if there was a whole bunch of hood people in here, me and him the only black people in here, and some dude came up here and saying, "Oh, F white people," and I don't like this, and I just stay quiet. And Adam's my best friend.
Right.
That means that I agree with what they're saying. I don't have a problem with it. So you know what I'm saying? So, and then he made another analogy. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse, and you're neutral in that situation, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not bothering me. The mouse is going to think that you're with the elephant. That means that you're neutral in situations such as injustice. So if you see black people getting slaughtered on the street, you don't say nothing about it. So what are black people going to think?
Right.
You with the people who slaughtering. So again, if you're neutral, like if you're in between, if you're neutral in situations such as injustice, then you have chosen the side of the oppressor.
Yeah. And you know what, like, you can see that very clearly is like like for example, when someone's like fighting, like your typical like high school fight or something, and everyone just gathers around to like record it or just to watch it, like that's like prime.
Nobody doing shit but just holding their phone out. Yeah.
And that I remember that would bug me when I was a kid.
Yeah, there's no reason for
I
that.
wouldn't even want to like go and watch because like I would feel something in me just felt like wrong, like bad. You know what I mean? There's obviously something exciting about it. Like there's obviously something that the excitement factor, but I think there's also like the tribal factor. Like everyone wants to be grouped like in a group and like do something together. Like if everyone's doing it, everyone's gonna join in. But that's a perfect example too of just like seeing, and it's so prevalent today. Like with everyone who just has a phone and a camera and like. That's the first thing I want to do is just run up and record something like when something bad is happening.
Instead of starting to
that's
stop
anything,
it
right? Like there's a ton of videos all over the internet of people recording something bad happening. They're recording it. And it may be good to like get it out to the public, but they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like
you got to do. Yeah.
It's
if
crazy.
you don't step up or say anything, like there's been so many times I had to check people for talking bad about Muslims. My other best friend is a Muslim, Junior.
Yeah.
Never done anything most peaceful people I've ever met. And I get radical Islam. I get it. You know what I'm saying? That's radical though. When people talk down, like I had to check this one dude. He was like, yeah, all the Muslims do is just blow stuff up. I was like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, explain to me. I was like, tell me what you know about Islam. See, that's another thing. People open their mouths about stuff and they don't know anything about.
They just say shit to say it, and they have no idea what they're talking about.
I was like, tell me the 5 pillars. You know what I'm saying, of Islam, since you know what, you know what I'm saying. So where does Islam come from? Like what's the couldn't say anything. So I'm just like, that's one thing about people. They just talk and they just don't know what they're saying. So that's one thing about me. Like I love checking, and I'm good with confrontation on racism. I love confrontation on racism. Like I'll ask you in front of whoever. Like if you said an ignorant statement or something like that, like say it again. Right. Like louder, So that's why I was saying I got this tattoo because I'm definitely not neutral in situations of injustice. Like if somebody, like I said, it's a whole bunch of black people came in here and they started calling you, you know what I'm saying, derogatory terms for white people, honky this or crack or whatever, you know what I'm saying, I'll check. No. You know what I'm saying? Because that means that it's okay with me, and it's not.
Yeah,
so, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Huge. Like, no, it's not. Yeah, it's not how it should be.
Yeah, and that's what I love is like kind of self-policing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, because you think about like, oh yeah, we need police, we need a military, we need all these things. But that's coming from an outside source for help. But like, if I feel like for a lot of situations, I feel like they can be handled with your family and your friends and like through your, you know what I mean, if it's handled properly, right? And if we know how to handle it, like you're saying, like if you know what to say and if you know how to handle it, if you're taught, you're educated on that, then I feel like a lot of things can be resolved purely through
that's
through
another
talking,
one.
and
police.
Yeah.
Nowadays, man, and see, that's crazy. We used to have a police flag flying out in front of my house. My dad was embarrassed and took it down. Yeah. He was like, I ain't,
Who
like,
served 30 years.
30 years. He even made a post about it, about when that Derek Chauvin stuff happened. He was like, that man tore down everything that I did in 30 years in 8 minutes.
Wow.
Embarrassed to be a police officer.
Yeah.
And that's not, it comes down to training. My dad always say, if you don't want it, if you can't walk up to a car at night by yourself on a stop, like if you're too scared to do that, there's a possibility that you may get shot. There's a possibility that then don't do the job.
Right. Yeah, it's not for you.
It's not for somebody. Somebody out there will do it.
You have to be a certain type of person to be a cop. You have to have a certain level of resolve. You have to have a certain level of remaining calm under pressure. And if you are resolving issues by like, you come up to someone's window and it's a regular traffic stop, but you already have your hand on your firearm. You're not ready. That's
gonna make somebody that's gonna frighten them.
Like you see all these videos of traffic stops all the time where an officer has a gun in someone's face and they're like, "Stay calm." And it's like, how am I supposed to stay calm when I'm looking down the barrel of a loaded gun and a person that's screaming at me on the other end of the gun? So training is a huge problem. Man. There's one thing I wanted to touch on before we jump. I want to get into the policing topic, but I wanted to go back to what you were saying about standing up in situations where you hear, racial ideas being shared, or you hear
or anything negative, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about this. One of the most interesting, and I mean, it's not unique to just me because there's a lot of people like me, But a lot of people that are biracial, like myself, especially people like me that are biracial but reflect more white. I mean, like, yeah, I don't really have the skin tone of a typical white person, but I mean, my facial features are mainly, Anglo. One thing that's really unique that I've experienced my entire life, whether it's elementary school all the way through working as an adult, is people will say shit about black people right in front of me.
And they don't know.
I've heard white people
I can see their face
that
now.
I've worked with say nigger right in front of me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then I look at them and I say something. I'm fucking black. You're gonna like just, and they're like, oh, you're black, dude. I didn't mean it like that. And I don't even say that all the time, man. I'm tripping. Man. Or like I've heard people say like I worked at Domino's. You know that I used to deliver pizzas while I was in college. All the fucking time, man. I would be working in the Domino's and people would come back, be like, man, I fucking hate delivering to black people. They never fucking tip. Man, fucking black people are so... And they would say this shit right in front of me, like expecting me to like laugh along and like play along with their jokes and shit. I've left companies, I've moved places because of like fucking attitudes I've felt being shared in the company I used to lifeguard for. One of my managers used to say shit about black people at the pool while I was working there. That's why I left. But like shit like that, man, I've seen this shit happen right in front of me, and people just think, oh, this dude doesn't look like, your typical black person, so he must not be black. I can say whatever the fuck I want in front of him. So if it's like, imagine the shit that, that hasn't even been said in front of you just because you were in the room. So that is one of the craziest experience. It's one of the most difficult experiences of my life, but I'm also the most thankful for it because I get to see like how people really are. And
that's
how
what I was
people
gonna
really
say.
think.
It's like it's almost like this cloak.
It's like I have X-ray vision.
Right.
It's like I can see the way
It's
these
like you
people
can-
really are when
right.
they're by themselves.
Right.
It's
like a superpower almost.
Well, I've been in the car with people, and like we'll be listening to fucking miscellaneous hip hop, whatever. Pick a song, and they'll just like I'll be in the car with two other white people, and someone in the song will say the N-word, and they just let that shit fly full force, like say it with their fucking chest, max volume, just shouting the N-word out the fucking window, and I'm sitting in the back seat like, and so then I say something, and then it's like, oh man, sometimes I just get lost in the song. I don't even realize I'm saying it, dude. And it's like, dude, I mean, imagine the shit that's not happening when I'm there.
Yeah.
Or the shit that's happening when I'm not there, I should say.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I just had to touch on that while we were talking about that, because that is one of the most unique experiences that I've experienced over the course of my life. And I feel like it's important to talk about because not a lot of people have experienced that.
that's
The whole
very-
thing,
very-
like
definitely
people openly
rare.
disparaging against your race in front of you.
For sure.
As if you're not there.
For sure.
So it's a wild thing. But we can get back on to policing. I just had to talk about that.
No, we can go anywhere you want from that, dude. You don't have to.
I mean, the police thing, it's just, there's training, I guess, man. Like, there's no reason. A lot of these shootings that have happened, they're not justified. There's no reason to shoot somebody, in the back, or there's no reason. Like, my dad's told me stories all the time, man. He's had to fight. He said it's part of the job. You use your hands. You know what I'm saying? You will get punched. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's been one time where he had to use his gun. He said he didn't go for the gun first. He goes for his taser first. You know what I'm saying? I think it was a dude coming at him with a knife. Goes for the taser. You know what I'm saying? If that doesn't work, then you go for lethal force.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You never want to take anybody's life.
And you see people going for their gun at a traffic stop.
Traffic stop. Like, if you're scared to go up to a window, man, then you need to find another profession.
Yeah.
It's part of the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black people have been killed trying to enter their own home, enter their own car, laying on their back with their hands up, like literally. Like there is no situation where you are 100% safe as a black person.
Yeah.
And so, training is a huge issue. I mean, relatively compared to other, advanced jobs, the police academy, it's not a very extensive level of training. You can become a cop fairly easily.
And you don't even need a lot of requirements either.
Yeah. And the training does not scratch the surface. It's definitely not long enough. And the training is not refreshed often enough. You go through the police academy, but how often are you actually brushing up on your conflict resolution tactics and things like that? And so, it's crazy. And, people go, oh, well, not all cops are bad. The majority of cops are good. And it's like, well, it's the good cops' jobs to, self-police those bad cops. And it's just like we have a huge problem on our hands in this country. We have a huge problem on our hands. And I'm sure it was hard for your dad as a cop because I'm sure he has a lot of friends that are cops. And I'm sure some of those cops were very like back the blue, you know. So I'm sure it was hard for him to maybe lose a friend or two over seeing their response to all this.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. Yeah, he did his 30 years. Thank God he retired. He would tell me all the time how he would have to patrol by himself, and he's told me one dude, they went to court or whatever. He testified, and the dude was stood up on the stand and actually told my dad that he was gonna kill him if he didn't. You know what I'm saying? If he didn't knock me out, he was like, I was gonna kill you, Officer Slade. That's what he told him. But of course, you know, my dad rocked his ass. So, I'm still here. So I'm here. So of course that didn't happen. But yeah, man. I mean.
Another thing I think about with all of this, like, because when we go back to the history and then even today with police brutality, is like the trauma that comes with that.
Yep.
And like how that affects. I mean, we were just talking about black culture and just black people in general. Like, like I can't imagine like the amount of trauma. And because there's also a lot of research going on in this field right now. And the reason why I first heard about it was like passing trauma through your genes and through your DNA, like. Because what we're seeing now is like trauma can be passed. Yeah. And so when you look back and, you know, obviously just American history and just everything we were talking about, just like how does that affect people today? Man,
that a perfect example. Yeah. It does. My dad. Okay. Have you ever? I'll just ask you this: have you ever had a full run through with your dad or mom on what to do at a traffic stop?
No.
Okay. Yeah,
I have. You know what I'm saying?
At 16, the second I got my license, my dad sat me down, and he was like, "This is what you do. Yeah. This is what you absolutely do not do." And that is an experience. I mean, like, I've asked people that question before, and they're like, "No, why would I have to?"
See, yeah, I have my dad, and not even because, of course, my dad's a cop, but
your dad could have been an accountant, and he still would have.
Everything that's happening, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, "This is what I need you to do. You're my only son. This is what I need you to do," because apparently, you know what I'm saying, they're out here just killing anybody. So yeah, I've had to have my dad and mom, you know what I'm saying, my dad had to give me like he even refreshes that with me just to make sure that I know, you know what I'm saying. If you want to, he was like, when you pull over, just take your keys out and throw them on top of the car. Just throw them on top of the car and put both hands out the window and just let them sit right here. Just do that. And whatever he wants to do after that, but he was like, keep your hands just right here. And I don't think a lot of my white friends have had that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like with what me and my dad have. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's crazy. Some of my other white friends, their stories with the law. I'm like, how do y'all get let go? Like, because I know if a black person did that, they would, like, I'm talking about riding with beer, totaling cars, you know what I'm saying, with alcohol, getting caught with weed and stuff like that. I'm just like, well, they took one of my friends to jail for some weed. He had a .2. Yeah.
I have a couple
like what?
I had a couple experiences where I was in a car and obviously I have a lot of black friends, and it was me, the driver, and 3 of my black friends. 1 in the front, 2 in the back, right? And we would always go downtown and hang out a lot. And I was always the driver because I had a car, and I was just like more than willing to drive. I was like, yeah, I'll drive, whatever. And multiple times there's been cops pull us over and take us all out of the car, and not really ask me any questions or mind me too much, but they're all questioning and searching all my friends. Really? You know what I mean? And I'm just like, the fuck is this? And then another time where we got pulled over, and this one cop followed me. This was in Kingwood, and one cop followed me all the way until I pulled up in front of the house. Really? I don't know why. Yeah, but like he was following me for a while. Like he didn't turn his lights on until like right before we pulled up in front of the house. And I was like, what's going on? And then like I got out of the car. And I know he saw, obviously, there was a car full of people, right? You can see with your lights. So I know he knew that there was people in the car. And I'm pretty sure he knew they were black. But he just pulled me out of the car and talked to me to the side, just pulled me to the side. And he was just like, you got any... I think he seemed like a fairly, like, reasonable cop. But he was just like just questioned me, like, what's in there? Do you have anything in there? I just told him, no, sir, no, sir, no. Just kind of straight up with him. And he's like, all right, go have a nice day. He didn't, like, ask for anything. He just like, all right, have a nice night. But, like, I think it was because, like, I was white, obviously, but like he just pulled me to the side and just talked to me.
Talk to you.
And I was just like, okay. And I was like, well, thank God they didn't pull us up. I mean, cause I'm sure we had weed in the car or something else, because like we always smoked. But just experiences like that were really fascinating.
I had one. I was my power had went out at the house, so I went to my friend's house to use his Wi-Fi. So I'm sitting in the driveway. Doing a paper. I turn around. There's 5 cops walking up to my car with their guns drawn. They open up the door. They asked me to get out of the car or whatever. It turns out, long story short, I fit the description of somebody who violated parole.
That's what they always say. Oh, you fit the description.
Fit the description. So I got a gun drawn on me with a laptop. I'm sitting in the car. I'm like,
Writing a fucking paper.
but I'm typing my paper and I'm like, they're like, get out of the car. I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? They put me in handcuffs and pat me down, and I was with my other homie too. He was sitting there or whatever. We were just sitting outside. He was vaping or whatever. So like, they don't pat him down. He's black though, right? I'm like, so why am I the only one getting handcuffed? They're like, oh yeah, you're the biggest one here. They told me that. They're like, you're the biggest one here, and you fit the description of somebody who violated parole.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, I've never even been to jail, prison, you know what I'm saying, nothing
Right.
like that. But I'm 6'4" and I had tattoos. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
you're a
that-
black male.
Yeah.
And the
that's what it
description
was.
is
The description
black
was
male, tattoos.
6'3" black male tattoos. That was the description. I'm sitting there writing the paper. And then they just uncuff me and let me go.
Right.
Don't ask me any questions. Don't ask me, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even tell my dad about that.
Mm.
Crazy, like guns drawn. Like the dude was ready to go. Like he really thought. Like you should have seen how amped he was.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was Call of
First
Duty
of all,
style.
for
Yeah.
violating parole, it's not like you fit the description of a man that just killed 4 people. Violating parole, and they were ready to blast. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they were ready to execute a death penalty because someone violated parole.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
Yeah. I'll call you back, Junior. Yeah. I'll hit you back. But yeah, like that instances like that, man. Like that's happened. That's happened. I couldn't even. I don't even understand that one. I was literally just doing my paper, and a cop, like he literally had his gun drawn, and he's like ready to go, like finger on the trigger and everything. Cause I'm looking at that. You know, I was raised by a cop, so I'm looking. I'm like, okay. As soon as I see a cop open the door, first thing my eyes went to was his finger. Fingers in the trigger. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I don't have nothing in my car. You know what I'm saying? I don't ride around with a gun or anything like that. So why does he have a gun drawn on me?
Mm-hmm.
They went in the house next door and come out with the right guy, and then drive off. I was like, man, if I would have just flinched, you know what I'm saying? Or if I would have been like, oh no, I wonder would he have shot me?
yeah, probably.
Like me of all people, like you know me, I don't even do stuff like that. Like I'm not involved in anything like
No,
that. So
no.
like, imagine if he would have shot me,
Yeah.
and my dad's 30 years on the force.
Right.
Whew.
Oh yeah, they would have all lost their job for
Yeah.
sure.
Just like, man.
would they have?
Well, I
Would
mean,
they
with his
just-
dad, like I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
his dad would have some pull.
All right, but if his
Yeah,
dad wasn't a
that-
cop,
no, if his
probably
dad
would have been
probably
put
not.
on paid administrative leave.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And they
for
would have
sure.
been back working, you know.
Yeah. But that is good because I have other friends I have 2 other friends that had dads as cops, and they would always get out of something. Like I
Oh,
know
yeah.
both of them got out of multiple trouble.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just interesting. Like, 'cause I feel like if you're the son of a cop, like you're gonna be different. Like I don't know, there's something to it, almost like just how you're raised. But
Yeah. It definitely helps, though. I've gotten tickets and stuff like that. One time I got in trouble for, I think I was at PV undergrad days or whatever. And there was a party or whatever, and there was some weed there. So the cops came and took everybody.
everybody,
They put us in a
So
holding
dumb.
cell, right?
Over some weed.
Yeah, I didn't have.
It's so
That's
funny.
stupid.
I went to court or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yada yada. After that, it just disappeared.
Nice.
Never heard about it. You know what I'm saying? You know. So I was like, my dad was like, you know, you'll thank me later.
Right.
Yada yada.
All right, so we're about an hour in. I want to switch topics a little bit,
No, yeah, go ahead.
not to like, you know.
No, go ahead.
But I wanted to definitely talk about this topic. I know you did too, Tom, because we love travel.
Oh yeah.
And we love just like experiencing just different parts of the world. And so
Yeah.
you've got to see a good chunk of the world, which is most of northern United States. So
Yeah.
you've been to at least 50 states, right?
I've been to
so,
all 50.
So that's really fascinating.
Yeah, I think that also helps with education too, because the more you see, the more you know. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You can. I've been to Alaska twice, and there's a whole bunch of Asian people over there, and
Yeah.
they live differently, and they talk differently or whatever, but they're still part of America. So I think it's if you go over there and actually talk to the people and understand, you know what I'm saying, how they live and all this type of stuff, then you won't be, you know what I'm saying, you shouldn't be racist, because you should just be you should understand, okay, well, this is the type of food they eat, this is what they sound like, because this is where they originate from.
Right.
I have
And when you start to see how diverse and different
Yeah.
so many people can be, depending on where they live and where they come from, all these things,
Exactly.
like there's not one person who's the same. You can't generalize anybody.
Exactly.
But,
And
yeah.
like going to Alaska is a good place that I tell people to go. I've been to Juneau twice, Ketchikan twice. I just got back from Hawaii. That was my third time going to Hawaii. Is another one that people should experience. It's real spiritual. They even have something called brown privilege over there. It's not white privilege, it's brown privilege. And they treat, I was wondering why, I don't know if it's just the island vibes or whatever, but they treat colored people like royalty. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what that is or whatever. MLK had made a statement about how all black people need to go to Hawaii for some reason, but I forgot. But travel is something that's real important. Because I believe that could stop a lot of racism too.
Mm-hmm.
It really
For
can.
sure.
But yeah,
I agree.
I've just knocked out all the states. I used to work for United Airlines for 6 years, so I just was like, well, I might as well. This could help me go on with my teaching.
What did you do for the airline?
Ramp handling,
Okay,
baggage and
nice.
stuff. Stack the bags in the planes and stuff like that. So yeah, I was able to just go.
You got a bunch of travel credit from the airline.
mhm.
Yeah, nice.
And I just wanted to see, and I was just like, oh, I want to go see how it is over here. People are always talking mess. How people talk mess about New York or whatever. I'll be like, well, let me go see if it's really dirty, or if it really has all these stereotypes.
That's like the best reason to go travel. Just go see for yourself.
Exactly, yeah. So I was like, let me go see D.C. Let me go see the White House. Let me go see California. Let me go see the hippies in Oregon. Let me go see the Mormons in Utah. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to get a better understanding, of stuff, and so I can actually see it hands on. So when I teach it, it's not like I'm gonna be reading it from a book.
Yeah, exactly. The experience is the greatest teacher, right?
Exactly.
And so what originally, obviously you said you worked at the airlines, but what made you want to just go see everything?
Granny.
Like, just wanted to go see it all, like all of the U.S.?
My granny took me to Hawaii when I was a child, and it was just us. We were in Maui, then we flew to Honolulu, then we cruised to Maui, and it was just me and her and my granddad just sitting on the beach or whatever. And I was young or whatever, so I didn't really know what I was looking at. But she had told me, she was just like, make sure you know what I'm saying, when you grow up or whatever, make sure you stay like, stick to traveling, because traveling, she was like, it brings peace. You know what I'm saying? It brings, better peace of mind or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Relaxation, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, it builds connections. That's another thing. And that's, now when I start traveling or whatever, I'll meet people like cool, like if I'm going out to eat, or whether, you know what I'm saying, if it's from Xbox or whatever, it just took off from right there. Like, if I had a friend from Xbox that I had played with, never met him before a day in my life. But my granny always told me, she was like, yeah, build connections, you know what I'm saying? That's what travel is all about. Flew to Boston one day, the coolest dude I've ever met in my life or whatever, and one of the coolest dudes. So she had always told me to just take a chance, really. Just take a chance, and just take a chance and just go see, what everything is about, and just don't believe what everybody says. Just go see it for yourself. So that's just how it just took off. And then after that, just started knocking off one state after another one. And then before I knew it, I hit all 50 and been to some states, a few times over. But the best one, I would say, it would be, Hawaii.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it really expensive out there?
Yeah, it's very
That's what I've
expensive.
heard.
You gotta plan it way ahead, man. Like, the ticket's expensive, and then
Which everything when you get out there is expensive too. Yeah,
man, you gotta have a car and stuff, and it's definitely worth it though. I think that's like my California. People go to California all the time, back and forth. I like to go to Hawaii because I don't like a lot of people. I like to be by myself.
Right.
And Hawaii is not, heavily populated. The state's only 60 miles long. So everybody's nice. So I like it.
It's probably the prettiest state too. Yeah.
That in Alaska. In Maine. I was telling Adam about Maine too.
Yeah.
Go get some lobster in Maine.
Yeah. I definitely want to do more traveling, man. And that just inspires me, like hearing his stories and other people like it. Especially at a young age, man. You're what, like 26, 27? How old are you?
You said, I'm sorry. Say it again.
How old are you?
28.
Okay, 28. So you're my age. So yeah, just seeing that, at a young age, you're already seeing 50 states.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have a whole life ahead of you. So it's like, it's just inspiration, man. So It's really awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever been out of the country much?
Oh yeah.
What's your favorite country that you visited?
Man, I've been to Canada 3 times.
Yeah, I've been to what part of Canada?
I've been to British Columbia and I've been to Toronto.
Okay, I've been to British Columbia. I like Canada.
Yeah, BC is cool, man. BC's nice. BC, Toronto. Yeah, Toronto that's the most diverse city I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
More than New York?
It's you can walk up to any, colored person, they can speak English, French, or whatever, what I'm saying, you never know. So, I mean, but yeah, that, Toronto, Canada is my favorite. I think, Canada is my favorite place.
Wow.
For sure.
I've never been to Toronto, but I do like Canada.
Yeah,
a lot,
BC's cool. I like it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I definitely want to travel more.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely want to, especially now that things are getting back to normal.
Yeah, it's opening back up.
You can travel a lot easier. I think next week you're no longer going to have to wear a mask on an airplane, I think, which is great, man, because I've flown during the pandemic, and it really is not fun sitting there for like 3.5 hours just, with your mask. You can't fucking move. You're just in this little tight space, and you have a mask on your face. It's not fun. So luckily that's going to get lifted, and flying will be, a bit more comfortable. I love flying, so I'm excited to try and travel more.
Yeah, I'm trying to go to Europe next summer. So it's flying.
Yeah, I want to go to Europe too.
Me too.
Amsterdam and take the train, Paris, Belgium.
Yeah.
So that's on my list.
When are you going to Africa?
I gotta wait. I want to go with Junior. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go with somebody that's from there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Junior says give him some time or whatever. He has to save up some money or whatever. So
Where
I'm gonna
is he
just
from?
wait. He's from Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go, and I have a friend Osie's from Nigeria.
Right.
So I'm gonna just go when they go, because that's a big leap.
Yeah.
As far.
Knowing somebody who's from there and being able to go with them is huge.
Yeah, especially to another continent.
Yes.
That's,
Oh, man.
That's far. And I don't
Yeah.
do long flights. My flight to Hawaii was 10 hours. I bought a straight ticket there, but I changed it when I got there because I didn't want to do 10 hours is just too much.
So you went one. It was just
I did
no
one,
stops.
Yeah, I did one stop. I mean, no stops going there.
On the way
but
back?
I was, yeah, on
Probably
the way back.
stopped in LA?
I stopped in San Francisco.
San Fran. Okay.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, this is way better. I could do 5 and
5.
Yeah, but not 10, man. I couldn't.
10 is rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine going to Asia or somewhere where it's
Yeah.
even longer.
I definitely would stop in Europe and then I would go.
Yeah.
No straight flights.
Shit, man. Cayman flew from here straight to Taiwan, and it was like, I forgot how long he said the flight was. It was crazy. It was like 18 hours or some wild shit like that.
Man.
But he said, the way the time change works.
Yes.
The way time jumps forward as he was flying back to, or I'm trying to think which.
Time would be going.
Which way?
It goes
going
backwards
forward.
until you get to a certain point, but then you wind up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything east is
Yeah.
forward. So New York is what?
I don't remember if it was when he was going to Taiwan or when he was coming from Taiwan back to Houston, but it was 18 hours in the air straight, okay? And the way the time change worked, so like let's say he left on the 27th, he came back on the 29th, and that day of the 28th, he technically spent 0 part of the 28th on the ground. Like the way so he left at nighttime, arrived in the morning, and
That
like
makes
that
sense,
entire block of the 28th, he spent, so that date, June 28th, whatever it was, he spent none of that date on the ground. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that shit. I mean, I could do it maybe if I was in first class.
Yeah,
But
well, there
I
you
couldn't
go.
sit coach for 18 hours
No.
unless I had like some Xanax or something, just pass the fuck out in the back of the
Yeah.
ride. That's
Well, I mean,
why.
but those flights are bigger jumbo jets, right? Where like you have
Yeah,
some
they
more
either
space
put
than your
you
average,
on a
right?
747 or a 777, and it's bigger, but I mean they also
Yeah.
put a lot of seats in there. So instead of
Yeah.
just having like 3 seats on one side of the plane, 3 seats on the other, there's a row in the middle that has 4 seats,
Right.
and they do take care of you. He said I think they served like 3 different actual like meals. There was
Yeah.
like a breakfast, a dinner, and then another breakfast,
Right.
and they actually like bring you a tray with multiple courses and shit.
Yeah.
So I mean. And now these airplanes, man, they have TVs that are loaded with like 100 movies, and
Right.
and you can always like download the shit you want on it. So it's like really comfortable to fly now, but still, man, 18 hours in a little airplane chair, you know,
Yeah,
No,
for
couldn't do
sure.
it. Couldn't do it.
rough. But he said Taiwan was amazing, so it's like it's probably worth it at the end of the day to wind up wherever you're going.
Yeah,
You know.
for sure.
So
Oh, I was gonna say one of the cool landmarks that I visited. Nobody thinks to go. The cooler places to go to are the ones that nobody goes to, I think. I flew into Kansas City, Missouri, and Malcolm X was born in Omaha, Nebraska. and it's crazy. It made me think about this because I went to where his house was before it was burned down, and they have a radio station that was something just like this. And I think it was like the Huey P. Newton radio or something like that. Huey P. Newton's was a Black Panther or whatever. And okay, what was I saying? Yeah, and they had the history. I actually have a picture of me standing by the location. Hold on, I got to show you this. Let me see here. Hold on, here it is. So he's a Muslim or whatever. So that's.
All right, so I'm gonna show it to the camera.
Yeah, that's in Nebraska or whatever.
For anybody who's watching YouTube, you can see Mark's picture here. And if they want to follow you with Skyman_Slade.
Yeah, that's me.
Skyman_Slade. For you want to follow him, you can see all of his pictures.
So, yeah, like it's I think that's a cool landmark, man. There's so many hidden landmarks around. I mean, everybody loves the New Yorks and the LAs and the Miamis. I get that, but there's a lot of hidden gems around America.
Right.
Like Fred, you could take it was $1. I paid $1 for the tour of Frederick Douglass' house.
Nice.
Just $1. Yeah, just $1. Like there's so much, especially in DC. There's so many museums and stuff. So it's cool. That's what I'm saying. I love travel and eat. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love eating food from different places.
Yeah, exactly,
Fucking
man.
love it.
Yeah.
Fucking love that.
Yeah, and if you don't know about Maine or
Exactly. New Hampshire, Vermont. See those
Virginia
states, Vermont, New Hampshire, man, I'll go up there in a heartbeat anytime. I guarantee especially black people, they will not go. Nobody ever thinks to go to New Hampshire.
what was your experience of obviously growing up here in Houston in the South, and them seeing what culture especially in particular
differences.
black culture in the northern states? Was it any different?
I mean, was the culture different?
Because I guess what I'm asking is because what I've heard is from other friends told me when you go up north, they had never met as many black educated people that they had before.
Oh yeah, well the South is
stuff like
definitely
that.
not as educated. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
And so they were they were telling me these stories of pretty much everyone I ran into, one guy was a lawyer, one guy was a doctor, one guy was this, and you were just that was just normal.
Yeah,
it just wasn't. And so I was curious if you had any similar experiences like that.
I mean, maybe not similar, but now that I think about it, all my friends that are from up north have degrees,
Right.
and they have good jobs. Now that I think about it, I have a friend in New Hampshire. He went to Dartmouth College. I have a friend who's, Mike Williamson.
Yeah.
He moved to Vermont.
Okay.
He's in grad school now for the
Nice.
University of Vermont. The North is definitely more educated. Now that I think about it, the South is, definitely not on the same level as
because
education.
I feel because I also asked the question because I feel being in the South or certain parts of the United States can be so much different from other parts.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously Washington State is going to be a completely different atmosphere than Houston, Texas. You know what I mean? But but you also have these spans of obviously you have all the southern states going from Florida to Texas and maybe a little bit north. But then you have all the northern states. It's almost this whole different.
Right.
It's almost like a different country in some ways, right?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to think
there's
about. But
that's crazy. Yes, something like a different country. Yeah, Hawaii seems that way. It doesn't even seem like it's part of the U.S.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a freaking island in the middle of the ocean.
It doesn't even. Even though what I'm saying, the money's same, everything. What I'm saying, it still costs 35 cents to get for a stamp, all that type of stuff. So it doesn't. Some places are legitimately different, the Maines and stuff New Hampshire, and now that I think about it, Vermont and Connecticut, stuff like that. It's different up there. And I encourage people to go see it, for sure. Especially Maine. Got to go to Maine.
Yeah.
Good seafood.
Lobster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't been that far up the north. I mean, I've been to New York, obviously, but the most New England place I've probably been to is I've been to Boston, and I really loved Rhode Island.
Providence, man. Oh, Rhode Island is so nice.
Newport.
Newport, okay.
Newport is. I went there for work, and I was there for 2 weeks. And shit, man, I ate some of the craziest food, some of the best food. But then also, that's another place where there's not a lot of black people in Rhode Island, but every black person I saw was either in a Benz or every black person I saw up there was well-to-do. They were all thriving up there. They were doing well. They all had a nice car, dressed sharp as fuck. I mean, I think you almost have to be well-to-do to live in Newport because that's a really expensive city. And luckily, I was up there and work was paying for everything because it's fucking expensive up there.
Yep.
But I mean, shit, Newport is gorgeous. Rhode Island is, you think of it as just being this like tiny little state, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's the smallest state. It's actually a really nice place, man.
It
It's
is.
beautiful. It's that whole part of the country is just gorgeous.
Yeah, that whole that whole eastern seaboard is
Yeah.
cool to me. I'll go back there anytime.
Yeah, and it's obviously the oldest part of the United States,
Of
which
course.
has obviously the most history there,
Yeah.
so you can
Yeah.
see the old buildings and
I
stuff
ate
like
at
that.
the oldest tavern in America.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's called the White Horse Tavern, and it was open in like 1760 something. Me and Keegan went and had a drink in there.
Yeah, it's
At the
awesome.
oldest tavern in America. So I mean,
Yeah.
the level of history in that part of the country is
Yeah.
crazy. They have the oldest Jewish synagogue in America is in Newport, Rhode Island. I saw that too. Yeah. Yeah, they have an old Jewish cemetery there too, and it's like one of the oldest in the country. It was really amazing to see that type of shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Really crazy.
Yeah.
The church where John F. Kennedy and Jackie O got married is in Newport. I've seen that.
Newport,
It's really interesting place, man.
Yeah,
And I
Rhode
would
Island,
have,
Rhode Island's cool.
yeah, it really is. And I would have never known about any of this shit if I didn't just go. You know, like the music festival I was working at was held in this old Navy fort, you know, that was used during like the Civil War. So I'm in this old Civil War Navy fort, and you just like everywhere you look is just history. All those bricks have been there since the 1800s, you know, all those. So it's amazing. It's amazing. Going to older parts of the country is definitely
Yeah.
amazing.
It's cool.
Yeah, and then we look at, I mean, it's all relative because then when you look at like places in Europe or other places in the world, this has been here for 500 years, and you're
Yes.
like, oh,
Yeah.
damn, what's history? If you know what I mean, like, because our country's not even that
Right.
old, and you're just like, whoa. But yeah, that's why it's so important to travel.
Like my girlfriend and I, we went to Panama, and you know, we were like, they have this part of Panama, and it's like they call it Casco Viejo, which is like, you know, the old city of Panama City, and you're just walking around and you see like, oh, you know, there's a cathedral. This cathedral was built in 1398,
Right.
and it's like you can't even just like
Yeah.
America. As we think of it today, wasn't even close to being established.
Right.
You know, like all that shit that happened in the 1700s was 400 years before that. They had all
Exactly.
this stuff down here.
That's
so
awesome.
Panama was an amazing country to visit too.
Central America, yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I just love that. I love like the idea of countries just being like so much older than we are. Like we are such a young nation, you know. It's amazing. It really is amazing. I love history. History is. I think everyone should care more about history than they do.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, running a little low. I gotta run here in a minute.
Oh, yeah,
But I just wanted to say,
This was a
Mark,
great show.
yeah, I really appreciate you
Yeah,
coming
I
on and
appreciate it.
sharing
This is cool, man. I
sharing
like
what
this.
you know, man,
Yeah,
and sharing your experiences.
I like this a lot.
And you're, I mean, legitimately welcome
Thank
anytime
you.
you want to come
Yeah.
back. If there's like, if a topic pops up that you want to come on the show and discuss, the good thing about this is we can record them in advance and release them whenever. So it's like we can cut an episode whenever.
That's cool, man.
So
Heck yeah, man. I fuck with this for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty great to be able to do this.
Yeah,
And-
appreciate it, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime.
And all right, so then that's another great episode of the Midnight Variety Hour. Until next time, travel, read up on some history, and why don't you just go fucking download Gears of War and see how you do. Until next time, stay safe out there in the cosmos, folks.
Peace.
Peace.